Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Tim. Today I've got a special podcast on how to really stand out from the crowd and increase your influence. Here's the question. What's going on inside the minds of top achievers that cause them to make extraordinary breakthroughs both personally and professionally? My name is Tim Shurr, and I invite you to join me as we take a deep dive into the unconscious mind and discover how to transform your biggest dreams into a reality. Welcome to the How to Be Mesmerizing podcast. Hey everybody, it's Tim. Welcome to the podcast. And today I want to share a message for my entrepreneurs out there and my business people and my sales professionals and everybody who really needs to be able to stand out in the business world. And of course, you can use these tools if you are dating, or if you want to bring more energy to your family, or if you just want to have more influence and charisma in general. So I feel like there's three levels that we go through or at least there's three levels that I went through when learning how to be a really great motivational speaker, right? Really learning how to help people feel inspired from the stage. And when I first started out, I thought it was all about trying to be like Tony Robbins. So I was jumping up and down and, just being really goofy and high energy. And I would just be like, I'd be like exhausted afterwards because I put every ounce of energy I had into the performance that I was doing on stage. And it really did feel like I was performing instead of teaching or educating. And I remember going through a group training. I was a part of a mastermind group, and I got some feedback one time that was really confusing and hard for me to understand. But I'll tell you what it was. So I was in Bismarck, North Dakota, and I was with a group of 10 people and our trainer. And we were talking about how to really make an impact from the stage and how to influence groups. And the task was to stand up and in front of the group, in front of your peers, and just talk about anything for a couple of minutes. And so I figured I would tell a joke. And I would tell the story of how I learned how to tell jokes from my Uncle Donnie. And my Uncle Donnie would tell these jokes, and I remember being like 11, 12, and he would tell these dirty jokes, and he'd always include me. And I always felt so special, right? Because I felt more grown up, and I always appreciated that. The funny thing about my Uncle Donnie is that his jokes were okay, but the way he told them was hilarious. He was always like, all right, here we go, and he was so full of energy and very animated and body language, and he was acting out the characters, and it was hilarious, and I loved it. And so that's what I would do, right? So when I started talking in front of my peers, first I was a little nervous because it was other speakers and trainers, and I was like, I was always so nervous about everything back then. But I started to go into telling a joke like my Uncle Donnie. And I told this joke and I was all amped up and everybody really laughed and they enjoyed it. And then the trainer said, okay, that's great. Now I want you to go ahead and I want you to share the same thing again, but this time I want you to come from the heart, right? Even though you're telling a joke, I want you to try not to put on a show, right? Don't jump around and be all animated and crazy. Instead, I want you to imagine just kind of coming from the heart as though it's not about your performance at all. It's about the people in front of you. It's about how you connect with the people in front of you and how you make them feel. And like you're having a one-on-one conversation with every single person in the room. And if you can do this with 10 people, you can do it with 1,000 people. It's just making that connection. And so, and then we'll give you feedback, right? And so then I was like, okay, but this is going to be lame, right? Because I was so used to putting on the show and I won awards for it, right? I won awards for, best of the best presenters at conferences. And so, sometimes success keeps you stuck because your brain is afraid to upgrade to something better because you're like, well, this is what's made me successful. Why would I give that up? And so, it's hard for us to grow the more successful you are, especially early on. If you get early on success, it's you're not as coachable because you're often afraid that it's going to, mess up your mojo. And that is a mistake. Okay, so anyway, so I told the joke again, and I really did. I tried to come from the heart and just be calm and just connect with people. And then afterwards, I was like, all right, I can't wait for this feedback. And it was so much more positive. And it really confused me. I'd like to say, oh, I received this feedback and it was wonderful and we hugged it out. That is not what happened. I was very resistant. I've said before, there's 3 phases we go through with a breakthrough. So the first one is resistance, and then we go into confusion, and then we have the aha moment, and that's what we call the breakthrough, where you have a new belief, a new perspective that's so eye-opening that you can't go back to the way that it was, because it's like the gig is up, right? It's like now that it's like a magic trick and you don't know how it works, and then all of a sudden you discover how it works. You can't ever go back to not knowing how it works, right? It's been revealed. And so they gave me this feedback that, it was much more connecting. It was much more heartfelt. It felt like you were being more real and authentic instead of just putting on the show. And I was just really confused. And it took a while for me to really understand that. And that was the beginning phases of me learning how to make it about others and how to be others focused, how to make it about my audience instead of making it about my performance or making it about me or making it about getting people to like me. I had to learn to not care if people liked me. What was most important is, are they getting something that's going to matter to them? And, and I think that that's one of the things that I've been learning as you go through these levels, that in the beginning you put on a whole bunch of energy, or you feel like you have to bounce around, which is great if you're extroverted, but if you're introverted, it feels really hard. It feels like you got to work up all this extra energy, and then afterwards you feel wiped out for a few days. And but I thought that's what you were supposed to do, is be entertaining. And so now, of course, you do need to be somewhat entertaining, but you'll understand what I say when I put this all together. So the first level was, jump around and be all crazy and have that energy. And people loved it. But the feedback that I would get was, oh my gosh, I loved it. This was great. You were my favorite speaker. And I'd be like, oh, wonderful. What did you learn the most? What did you get out of it? Oh, I don't know. I just feel really great. And I'm like, okay. And then I'd ask somebody else and I'd get the same feedback. I just feel so great, but I didn't learn anything. I'm not walking away with any nuggets, with any takeaways, with anything I can apply today to make my life better. And I'm like, oh, that's not what I want. I'm not on stage singing or dancing. I was there to educate. And so I knew that I needed to grow, right? I had to take it to the next level. And so, I went through resistance, and then I went through confusion, and then I had the aha moment, the breakthrough. And so then I said, okay, I'm going to stop putting on the show, and I'm just going to start speaking from the heart. And at first I was really nervous about this. I didn't know what was going to happen. And it felt very uncomfortable because I felt like I was just dialing down the energy. And I will tell you, the energy did go down for a little while. Okay? The energy in the room went down. There wasn't as much buzz. Not everybody stayed the way that they used to. However, the people that did stay started saying, that was amazing. Wow, I learned so much. A lot of times I'll sit down with a speaker and I hope to get one nugget. You had so many amazing takeaways that I didn't have time to write them all down. And I'm like, okay, great. Now we're getting somewhere. It's not exactly where I want to be yet. I would love for, everybody to be riveted. But I started connecting with the people who were looking to be connected, right? I hope that makes sense. But the right people stayed in the room. My audience stayed in the room. And it was great. And so the thing that really sealed it for me was I went back to a conference, one of the conferences where I'd actually won an award. And I had a whole bunch of people in the room. We were packed. And I gave another talk. And they were waiting for the jumping up and down and the rah-rah and everything else. And I didn't do that. This time I just told heart-to-heart stories and focused on the fears they might be having and asked questions. And that's when I started learning to create interactions and group discussions and interactive experiences instead of just lecturing, which was another huge breakthrough for my ability to connect with people and my ability to take my speaking career to the next level. And so from there, I did my program. And then afterwards, this guy came up to me, and I'll remember this forever. He used to be a Boston police officer, right? He was a Boston cop. That was a horrible, but he was a Boston cop, right? So he used to park the car in the Harvard Yard. Anyway, so he said that he came up to me, and this is a no BS guy. We would have a lot of conversations, and he would tell me stories. While he was smiling, he would tell me about how he used to walk the beat with his nightstick, cracking people in the heads, that were being disobedient, and he said it with a smile. So this was a pretty hard-nosed, tough guy. And so I know that he was going to be a straight shooter. And he says, I got to ask you a question. He says, last year, I watched you, and you were bouncing around on stage, and everybody was clapping and laughing, and it was so great. And he says, you know what? I didn't like you. I thought you were inauthentic. He says, I just wasn't buying it. He says, but this year, something was totally different, and I can't put my finger on it. He says, this year, you weren't bouncing around, and I felt like you were having a conversation directly with me. And I looked around at everybody else, and people were leaning in. People had their hands, on their chin, or their chin on their hands, leaning forward. And it felt like everybody else felt like you were having a individual conversation with them as well. And there's a couple hundred people in this room. He says, I got to know, what changed? And I was like, wow. I almost got teary-eyed, right? I was like, wow, this is really valuable feedback. I really appreciate you saying this, and he says, yeah, well, he says, so what's different? He's not a mushy guy. He's like, get to the point, right? And so I'm like, I'll tell you what's different. I had to switch from making it about me and my performance and getting people to like me to not caring about that at all and making it really, truly about the person in front of me. I really felt like I was having a personal conversation with you and with everybody else in this room. And, it really was being others focused instead of self-focused. It really at the end of the day back, last year, it was all about me and, people liking me and me feeling happy and successful. And this year it's really about making it about you and you achieving your goals in your life, becoming more fulfilled is how I become happier and more successful. I don't need you to be happy for me to be happy. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that my main goal is to make it about you and your success and what matters most to you instead of just me, dancing around like a chicken on the stage. And he says, that's really interesting. He says, that's how it felt. Last year, it felt like you were all about yourself and I just wasn't buying it. He says, but this year it felt like you were really talking to me and it felt like you were getting right to the heart of the matter. And I was just so impressed. And I want you to know that I really appreciated what you did today. And, and I'm a fan now. And I was like, wow, thank you so much. And that really, sometimes we need that outside validation to just seal it in and cement in these new ideas. And so you got to have the courage to take a chance on doing something new and sticking with it for a little while. Because in the beginning, you might try something new and it doesn't go the way you want, or people give you feedback that's not so great. If you stay with it, you can really test it. And sorry about that. I'm in the car and the phone's ringing. So level 1 was lots of energy, making it about me. Level 2 was not making it about me anymore, make it about my audience and, kind of just be more heart to heart. And then level 3, now these levels took years for me to go through, all right? It took several years for me to go through these levels. But level 3 is where I'm at right now, which is I've paid my dues. I've put the work in. I'm so others focused now that it's become my default setting, right? I'm so focused and self-aware and paying attention every single moment to why I'm doing what I'm doing and what's driving me and what story am I telling myself. I'm really obsessed with paying attention to my self-talk in real time, all the time, as much as possible. And so I know I slip from time to time like everybody else, but I try to get right back on it immediately, and then I try to figure out why I was slipping. And so now that I'm able to make it about others and really pay attention to what's going on inside of them, and I watch for feedback in real time, because I'm having these real connections, I can go back to bringing the energy again, right? I can go back to having the energy and the fun and the charisma that people love and teach at the same time. I don't let the entertainment side overshadow the education part of it. But I've been able to learn how to blend it. And so now when I walk into a room, I'm feeling happy, I'm feeling good, and I want to go connect with people, even if I'm in a bad mood. When I sit down in front of one person or in front of a crowd, all my energy goes on to helping that person in front of me or helping the crowd in front of me. And then I don't think about anything else. All those other issues kind of dissolve until, I'm back to thinking about, all right, how am I going to resolve this? And so it's really exciting because now I can go in and the feedback that I'm getting, I just finished a program this morning, so that's why I wanted to share what I've learned with you right away while it's top of mind. The feedback I got was I really, really enjoyed this program, right? It was high energy, it was really a lot of fun, and everybody got something really valuable out of it. Everybody got something out of this that they can start to use immediately. I did a program on how to be a mesmerizing decision maker, and the whole program was on being better at making decisions, right? On your own or as a leader, as a manager, how to help your team make better decisions, how to make your meetings more effective with the decisions that you make. And so that might not sound like a sexy, exciting topic, although it's something that is definitely needed by everyone. So, but I made it fun, and we were laughing, and we were having a great time, and we were feeling the energy. And what a great way. It's Monday morning at 10 a.m. and we were, in January on a gray day, and we were rocking it out on decision making. So, and it was amazing the energy that you can bring to the room. And I'm telling you, your energy is really important. The more peaceful you are, the happier you are, the more calm you are, the more supportive you are when things are not going right, the more supportive and compassionate you are when things are going wrong and when things aren't working out and when things are feeling stressful. The more the more you build the relationship, the more you build the loyalty, the more you build the your culture if you're at work, or your culture and your family values at home, right? So, I mean, every family has a culture too. I know we don't always think about it that way, but we have one, and it's not always the one that we would like. And so, this, giving you these ideas and tips through this podcast will give you lots of ways that you can improve the culture of your family at home and at work. So, all right. So just to review, we want to make sure that we are making it about others, that we are making it more about the person in front of us and connecting with them than we are about just dancing around, making it about ourselves or putting on a show. And then finally, once you have that and you feel like you have that authentic connection, then bring the energy back. Because real influence is having lots of energy, walking in the room and smiling. Now, that doesn't mean you have to bounce around or have a rock concert. A lot of people don't like that. What it does mean, though, is that you have the ability to show up and feel good. You have the ability to do something amazing, right? You have the ability to just smile, make eye contact, tell people that you appreciate them, make sure that you're letting people finish their sentences instead of cutting them off, making sure that your body language is supportive and encouraging and open, making sure people feel appreciated or validated for the ideas that they're sharing. That's how you make a real difference, and that's how you stand out. You don't have to bounce around. If you just make people feel loved, remember my acronym, LUV stands for listen to, understood, and validated. The more you help people feel loved, the more they're going to appreciate you, the more they're going to want to connect with you and be there for you when you need it, because you're there for them when they need it. So anyway, I hope this helps, and I'm going to go out for the rest of the day and make it awesome. It's going to be a great day. Why? I always tell my kids this. Why is it going to be a great day? Because I'm deciding it's going to be a great day, right? So the one thing I can control is my attitude, and you can too. So use these tips, put them into action, and make your day a sure success. Bye. Hey, would you like more free tips on how to be a mesmerizing leader? Then check out mesmerizingleadership.com, and also hang out with me on Facebook, facebook.com/Tim Shurr. Thanks so much, and make your day a sure success.